Hey guys, what's going on? Thunktank here. Thought I'd make the first video on what I think is following on from King of Avalon follower Mike, who made a video called "Let's Make KoA Great Again." So I'm just going to post some of the big issues I think exist in this game. Mike has not posted anything since that video came out. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. He may be busy or whatever, but got a little bit inspired, so I'm going to roll with this and throw these out there because I think we're all feeling it, and hopefully we can get some eyes on this and fix, well, at least get the attention of the developers for this game. So I think the first issue is going to be balance, without a doubt. So every update they've come out, they've released things like these noble. There's been the noble chest. That's not really a big issue. Where are they? So the big two on my mind are Valor and Prestige. Also the method in which they released these two updates. They were literally like 2 weeks apart. So one week Valor gems came out, and then the next week Prestige came out. Or it was something ridiculously close like that. There wasn't any time to keep up with any of this stuff. And now coming up in the next few weeks is going to be another update where they're releasing new items. So I think there needs to be a bit more thought around releasing these updates. And also look at this, 98 packs remaining. I bought two earlier and totally flopped on getting some extra Valor stones. I needed two. I need three more to fully fill out my Valor equipment set. But I think I'm going to stop there and invest more into Prestige because it's pretty much a guaranteed return on investment. This is really gambling right now, and yeah, it sucks. But I think I've done enough with the Valor stuff. But moving on, yeah, these two updates being released so close apart, it just created a massive gap between the free-to-play players and the pay-to-win guys, and it's one that we're probably not going to recover from in a long time. And until they stop releasing so much, so many new items to buy, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Currently, I've heard reports that people have been able to successfully stand up against some of the insane player stats out there, and this is primarily due to mixed marches. So I encourage you to experiment with that in a defending rally. If you're holding your throne against these huge players out there, I've seen reports where people are winning against people with troop attack of 200 and almost 230. Crap, that is insane. I think mine's about 130. And everything else, these insane players have like 400 plus stats across the board. And the guys that won against an incoming rally from somebody like that, they they testify that they used mixed marches, so sending a bit of everything all the way down to T1 from T10, or the opposing force only sent T10s and T9s. So there's something to be said about that. But yeah, going back to Imbalance, I think this is a huge problem, and it's causing a lot of people to want to quit the game because they just can't catch up or leave. And I think Fun Plus has basically created a new game called Guns of Glory to try and capture some of these players that are leaving. It's an exact replica of King of Avalon, and it uses the same thing. Turner, blah blah blah. Uses the same game. It's just different skins. There's no difference. So people are going there because it's new and there's no huge bullies just yet. Back to Imbalance here in King of Avalon. So this poor guy, I think, is a prime example. He's obviously not a pay-to-win guy. I am. And here I have I've lost 5,000 troops by solo marching his 400, almost 400,000 troops. And he just did not have a chance. He also didn't have any reinforcements, which was kind of silly. He just jumped into the Black Forest. But still, it's pretty crazy that you can do this kind of stuff. He was an SH-28. I'm SH-30. He could also probably work on his dragon, but these numbers are nothing new. They've been out for a while. These kinds of situations. And I think an easy way to address this would be to create perhaps, if you went down talents. And talents right now, if you go down war, there's not really any way you can spec. I'm in farm spec right now, obviously, but there's not any way you can really spec defense, or it's just, you just choose which troops you want to boost. So there's not really much strategy that goes on into this, and I guarantee nobody's going to be taking siege. Everybody always goes infantry and bowmen, and whatever's left, maybe cavalry attack. But that's really it. So what if they split this into three different sub trees, I guess. And depending on what tree you went down, you could grab a special talent that, maybe if it's a war, if you're going down war, you could get a buff, or if you're going down defense or something else, you could get a debuff. So what I think is important is to make the game somewhat reasonable. And if we had buffs and debuffs, 1v1, you might get your ass handed to you by one of these huge pay-to-win guys. But as a group, if you applied a whole bunch of debuffs to one of these castles, maybe 10 or 15 of you applied debuffs to an enemy castle, you could reduce his stats down to something that's a little bit less insane and make it more possible to fight that single player. Because currently there's people rolling around during KVK who are just soloing kingdoms on their own, and I think that's a bit crazy. So balance is a big issue. Keeping in mind that this is a business, so these guys need to make money. FunPlus needs to make money, and they do so primarily through selling of this stuff. But I think by overhauling the, some aspects of the game, they could make it reasonable and also fun for the pay-to-win guys. I mean, they want a challenge. They don't want it to be completely easy, like maybe some do, but I think the game would be way more fun if there was a bit more strategy involved besides, oh, I've got more stats, higher stats than you, I will smash you, which is what this is like now. The next big issue is longevity. So looking at the map, as soon as you join a kingdom, if you just started the game, you join a kingdom, your king, as soon as it loses that kind of hot status, which I'll show you here in a second, your kingdom's essentially dying. And what I mean by that is you're no longer getting in any new players. It's all about, players leaving, and players will leave. And depending on what the kingdom's like, they will leave at different rates. So if you have a bunch of bullies in your kingdom, people are probably going to leave faster, and that kingdom's going to die sooner. Eventually, what you'll get to is a point where, if that hasn't happened, people will be, people are going to be friends, they're going to be hanging out, and, things just kind of get a bit boring, and all they have left to do is KVK, and then so they all unite. This kingdom unites for KVK just to get smacked down by one guy who's decided to spend, $50,000, $100,000 on his account, and they're out there, trust me. So longevity is a big issue, and people suggested fixing this by kingdom mergers. So each one of these issues I'm going to make a single video about in depth on this stuff, and hopefully, put out some suggestions, some solutions that can go along with these issues instead of just bringing up the issues. Finally, besides the kingdom longevity / merger problem, I think just basic community engagement. Like, there's a huge player base, and unfortunately this game's gone from 4.8 stars down to 4.2 stars on Google Play Store. I think it's going to continue to decrease as people become disenfranchised with it over time and change the reviews down to lower ratings. And initially the FunPlus guys were doing great. They were inside the forums daily. They were active on Discord talking to the players. We used to see King of Avalon. There's a guy that had the title King of Avalon, and he'd go in and talk to people and get feedback on stuff. I don't know if I've seen him for a long time. So I think this is important because it shows the player base that they are actually listening to the complaints and suggestions being made. And at the moment, it's a frustrating process. If you have a suggestion or a complaint, they tell you contact customer support. That takes 2 to 3 weeks to get a word back from them. And then, what they tell you is very basic, copy and pasted probably stuff. They don't really look at your question as an individual. They're just like, all right, how can I place this question? What answers that already exist can I copy and paste to answer this question? So I think, it's also important for engagement because there's a lot of good suggestions out there that just don't get implemented. Some examples of good suggestions are this. So this little feature here, able to hide and close the map. And these aren't game breaking. These aren't going to change the game for, how it's played. It just makes it more enjoyable. Playability goes up, and they're easy implementations. So we'll do a video on all three of these in depth. If you have anything that you want talked about, please post a comment and a suggestion as well as a solution if you got them. I think that'd be at least a good start for coming up with some ideas and hopefully getting on the radar of FunPlus to get them to make some changes about this game, because it's a game I think we all really enjoyed. It was a lot of fun for 6 months or so, and then it just slowly, with the updates, became insane. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and if you like this, share it with your friends, subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later.